What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest, going through the latest Detroit Lions news. And today, we are here with the final practice report of the week for Lions, Buccaneers, Sunday afternoon in Ford Field. It's the divisional round, so let's get it started. Welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, man, we are back with another Lions Latest episode. And man, I'm so excited to dive into the final injury report of the week. I'm just excited, man. It's playoff time. Last week I was hyped up. This week I'm hyped up. You start to realize how close this is, that there's games taking place tomorrow, and you get excited, man. And we're about there. But first, we have to go through the final practice report, and that's what we're going to dive into today. Now, quick little note, I did upload my preview/prediction today as well. I made that yesterday, so that's why it has yesterday's practice report, but I uploaded that. So if you guys want to check it out, definitely go check that out. You can kind of skip past the beginning where I talk about the injury updates. But honestly, there's a lot of things that have carried over into today's practice report, so there's not a ton of changes there. We did hear from Dan Campbell. He didn't really give us a ton of updates outside of talking about the coordinators and Jared Goff a little bit, but we'll talk about some of the things that he said today in his presser. But with that being said, let's dive into it. Let's start on the Lions side of things. So first off, Khalif Raymond, no change here. He's going to be out for this game, did not practice all week. He also missed last week's game. In his place, we saw Peoples-Jones. We'll see if maybe he has a little bit more of an impact in this one than the LA Rams game. For a long time there, they weren't punting, so it was like, okay, we just didn't see a lot of him. Outside of the one that kind of bounced up and he ran it out of bounds. So maybe we see him a little bit more into this game. I think it'd be huge to have a massive special teams play, but not having Khalif definitely does not help. We'll see what kind of impact that gives us. Also, not having him on offense definitely stinks. Positive is I feel like Jameson Williams has been much more involved in the offense since last time we played Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay in a way was kind of like the breakout game for Jameson Williams. James Houston, positive here is he's practiced full all week, just like last week. But as Dan Campbell said, they really have to gauge if they feel like he will be ready to play, specifically meaning in comparison to other players that could potentially take those snaps defensively. Now, last time we played Tampa Bay, especially when they go heavy personnel, and we know that they like to set up shot plays out of that. You see 12 personnel, you start to think, oh, this might be a shot play. You put Keith at fullback, you're like, oh, this might be a shot play. However, James Houston could play on the line of scrimmage in some of those spots. Last time we played this team, we saw Jack Campbell on the line. We saw time Derek Barnes on the line just because of the personnel they put out there offensively. So he could potentially add some value there, but of course at times that could take snaps away from other pure off-ball linebackers that we have. Then also just as a pure pass rusher, whether that's taking a guy like Romeo off the field at times or really whoever that may be. Maybe it's a John Kaminsky in the interior, but probably not. It's a little bit different there. But whatever that may be, he's going to take snaps from somebody if he is out there. So the Lions are trying to gauge if they feel like he's in a spot where he's really ready to go, and it will be better to have him out there and getting some of the snaps over someone else that may not. Plus, of course, he also takes up an active spot on the roster. So you only can have so many active players. He would take somebody's spot as well there. So something to keep an eye on. I'm sure if he's going to play and he's on the active roster, he's going to play. Like if he's on the active roster this week, he will play for the Lions. They're not just going to have him activated and not give him snaps. So they really are going to want to feel good about this one. Sure, the Lions are going to mainly want to keep Jalen Reese-Maybin, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone, and Jack Campbell all active for this game, so they'll have to make some tough decisions there. Also, potentially adding special teams value could be crucial to him coming up in this game for whatever that may be. We know Cabinda even plays offense for us, so if they have those packages in there, he probably won't be inactive for this one. So, again, tough decision here with Houston. We'll see, but it definitely seems like a positive here with James Houston. Sam Laporta. Now, I don't really know how to take this. Limited participation, back-to-back days. It feels like a positive considering that he played last week and it was like, how is this dude playing? He is listed as questionable. I think the fact that did not participate today is a good thing. I would love to see that say full, but it seems like it's going to be okay with Sam Laporta. We'll just have to keep an eye on that one. They do have Brock Wright, of course, for this game. A little bit of Anthony Fursker out there as well, mainly to block, not really in the receiving game at all. So we'll keep an eye on that. We know they want to have Sam Laporta for this matchup using a little bit of that heavier personnel. Positives outside of it, though. Alex Anzalone, he's going to be good to go. He was massive last time we played this team. Brian Branch did not play last time we played Tampa Bay. He'll be massive as well for some of the speed specifically that they have in the slot. Even though he's not the fastest guy, he just helps a ton. Underneath coverage, the zone coverage, two deep safeties. He's going to be huge. Run support, the screens that they throw. He's going to be huge in this game. It's awesome to have him this time around. Kirby Joseph was massive last time we played Tampa Bay. did a really nice job of limiting explosives in that game. We have seen a lot more Ceedy Duce and Ife Melifonwu, and as Dan Campbell talked about, that's been one of the real flexibility things that they've had with Ceedy Duce coming back is Brian Branch, and they made that decision to say, hey, let's just leave Brian Branch in the nickel and let him get his snaps there. Let him figure it out there, kind of like they did with Ceedy Duce when he was in New Orleans. So he touched on that flexibility. It definitely gives him some flexibility. We know Ceedy Duce could also, if he had to, just slide down the slot. I believe that he could. However, it's allowed them to definitely keep Brian Branch into the slot, and Ceedy Duce has been really good at safety over the last couple of years, so I expect that he'll keep getting snaps there in this one. Plus, there's been a little crap talk. This is off top. There's been a little crap talk, kind of, between Baker and Ceedy Duce, so someone's going to take advantage of that. I think Ceedy Duce might get a pick this week.
And by the way, I've never really recognized this, but now, as a fan of a team that's in the playoffs, you start to realize some of the crap talk that goes on. I absolutely love this, whether it's Dion Dawkins with the Buffalo Bills, and all of a sudden you're seeing Ceedy Duce at Baker Mayfield, where Ceedy Duce goes at Baker, throws a little bit of a jab here, saying that, man, that receiving group, it's great. I played against them. If only they had a good quarterback over there. So he kind of threw a little jab at Baker, and of course, Baker, he's going to respond to that. Now, he didn't go crazy, but he did say, you know, we love Russell, but he hasn't played a snap for us all year. Man, that dude's been injured. You brought up Russell Gage. He hasn't been playing, so I don't think you're watching film, essentially. And then Ceedy Duce is like, I do watch film, okay? Go ask that man TB12 who broke that iPad or that Surface tablet, whatever that thing was, because I'm out there making plays. I love this. I love this.
Frank Ragnow, also good to go. He was listed with rest, but he's at full participation last couple of days. And then, of course, like I said, Brock Wright is going to play. On to the Buccaneers side of things, Shaq Barrett listed as questionable, but he improved today to limited participation after not practicing the last 2 days. They do have good depth there. They have a former first-round pick in Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. However, Shaq Barrett is one of the best players on this defensive front. He's extremely versatile. He's a really good pass rusher. He's a very good athlete, and he can be difficult to deal with that kind of speed. So Shaq Barrett looks like he's trending the right direction. Chase Edmonds, same thing there, limited participation after not practicing the last couple of days. He's been listed as questionable. Big thing you got to keep in mind with this is, as they say on the bottom, walkthroughs were Wednesday and Thursday for Tampa Bay, so keep that in mind that there can be some major changes because of that. For the Lions side, it says we conducted a walkthrough on Wednesday, so the Thursday one may mean a little bit more than, for example, you know, a guy like Sam Laporta being listed with full participation on Wednesday. Limited may give you a better sense of where he's at versus the Buccaneers side, where Friday really seemingly tells you a lot about where these guys are at. So Chase Edmonds seems a big positive there. John Wolford, that's one of their backup quarterbacks, so we'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully he's feeling okay. Yaya Diaby's going to play. The Chris Godwin one's kind of weird because he was listed on here with no practice due to personal reason. I don't know what that is. Hopefully everything's okay, but they also have no designation, so it seems like he's going to play just without a designation at this point in time. And Baker Mayfield, we all know this. He's going to play in this game. That is the final injury report for this weekend's game. Now, I did want to touch on a couple things that Dan Campbell talked about. One of the things he talked about specifically for this matchup, and again, the preview/prediction is up now, and I really alluded to it right at the end of the video when I gave my prediction, is the shot plays and limiting the shot plays, and that the Lions are going to want to play that style in terms of they don't want to give up the big play, let them kind of break this game open. That's the one thing they want to avoid, and they did. They avoided it pretty well. Now, there was opportunities that Tampa Bay didn't hit on, but they still avoided it statistically in that game. They were held to 6 points. But that's what makes this offense so threatening. And as Dan Campbell said, 13, 13, 13. If you don't know what he's talking about Mike Evans. That is that dude for this team. And even in the drop passes he had last week, you still worry about him breaking it open. And he had multiple opportunities to make that game get even further out of hand than it was against Philadelphia. He brought up specifically the example against New Orleans, where shot play after shot play at the end of that game brought Tampa Bay back. And I'll show some of the clips here of just a few of those examples, and you can see whether that's coverage in terms of just being disciplined, right, not getting out of your zone. And if you are getting out of your zone, making sure everybody else is on top of that. Like here, looks like cover 3. He follows Mike Evans on the play. Chris Godwin opens up on that back third. Or you also talk about what Dan Campbell said in terms of we have to collapse the pocket. The positive is New Orleans doesn't really create much pressure at all. That's a positive because the Lions create much more pressure than New Orleans. But from what he's saying here, the Lions do need to win on the interior, and this is a matchup to do it. To me, I think Ali McNeil is in for a massive game. I think he's got really good matchup with his quickness and bull rushing ability that he can kind of move around in this one. It felt like at times, last time they played Tampa Bay, it was like, hey, how many times can we get Ali McNeil and Cody Mao. I think he's in for a massive game, and if those guys eat in the interior, we'll be in a really good spot. But you notice with a lot of these big plays, Baker has time. We know he's great off schedule, but again, he's really good at getting out there, getting answers from the defense, hitting that back foot. We know he's super accurate. So with that, you got to have some sort of disruption. It's where they're a little bit weak is in the interior of this offensive line. Those guys need to win. And then, of course, on third down as well, I expect some movement there. Some guys crashing inside from the outside just to create some issues. Maybe linebacker edge drops out. We talked about that in the preview/prediction video. He also talked about the coordinator position, and I thought what he said was really good here about those guys starting their interviews, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. We don't know if they'll go or not, but he brought up the fact of, most guys in that position that are out of the playoffs, they get an opportunity to look at the roster. Then they can come in with a plan. Hey, here's what I do with your roster, right? Here's where you guys need help. Here would be my plan. And he said, well, they don't have time to do that. So they're going to go in there. They're going to talk about, they're going to tell them who they are and also why they felt like maybe they've had success, and they'll kind of just leave it at that. But I look at it as a sense of, if I'm a coach, like, dude, this means a lot. Like, these playoff games are massive, right? It kind of feels like that with like a Dan Quinn. These playoff games are massive to see what they go put out there. So as Dan Campbell said, these guys are locked into that. He thinks it's helped guys like Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson, as good as he is as a coordinator, he's also asked questions. He's picked up understanding, like, okay, game management, whether that's roster management before a game, whether that's kind of the head coaching responsibilities as well, just for preparation for what may be his next step as being an NFL head coach. But right now, it's about the Buccaneers. He also talked about Jared Goff, and I think he broke this down pretty well here in terms of the toughness of Goff, specifically speaking of, I know what this guy is when things were really bad. And he talked about how Jared Goff was just mentally focused, not like on, oh man, I'm getting frazzled because this is bad. And the first year he talked about going into that bye week, Lions didn't have a win at that time, a lot of questions from the outside. But he said for Goff, it was always like, oh man, my right foot wasn't right in this spot, or man, I didn't start my eyes in the right spot. That's why this happened. It was never anything bigger than that, basically, is the way that Dan Campbell explained it, that he acted like a true pros pro. He's like, I know who he is when we were at our worst. He's like, I'll take that guy any day. The playoff atmosphere, he talked about how not many players had that playoff experience, but now they do. They know exactly what the environment's going to be like, which, by the way, I guess it set some records and stuff. Like, it was extremely loud at Ford Field. It sounded loud through the TV. It looked crazy. Apparently, it was crazy. So let me know in the comments if you're going to this game. Let me know. That's awesome. But then he also did talk about the coordinator spot, and he said that, that's not his focus at all right now. Like, that's an offseason thing because it's for the next season. And he kind of made it sound like maybe last year, offseason, he was thinking about this, right? Hey, if Ben Johnson goes, as Aaron Glenn goes. But he's like, that's an offseason thing. That's not a right now thing. We're locked into this. And for the guys, man, it's just about the next one. Just about the next one. Because the Lions have an opportunity with this win to go to the NFC Championship game, which is crazy, but they do have that opportunity right in front of them. So I'm going to leave that right here, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The final practice report is here. We'll see if James Houston plays. We'll know more when it's about game day, but they're kind of waiting on that decision. He has been taken off of IR. He is on the roster. Now the question is he going to be active for this game? Hopefully Sam Laporta can play as well. That is a big one. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.